Trudeau rules out negotiating with protesters, says military deployment, not in the cards.
Here's a summary of the article.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is giving no sign he's willing to negotiate with the protesters occupying Ottawa who are demanding either an end to all vaccine mandates or a change in government. The protest, now almost a week old, started in opposition to the federal government's vaccine mandate for cross-border truckers. During a Thursday press conference, Tamara Lich, the woman behind the now-paused GoFundMe campaign that has raised more than $10 million to support the protest, insisted protesters plan to stay in the city until their demands are met. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says calling in the military to remove protesters in Ottawa is a serious decision that is not to be taken lightly and is not in the cards right now. The protest has picked up international support, but it's also causing frayed nerves in the city, as protesters continue to sound their horns and disrupt traffic at all hours. Protesters' vehicles are restricting access to downtown Ottawa, causing the closure of businesses and service centres, a COVID-19 vaccine clinic and an elementary school. Watson called on a handful of Saskatchewan politicians, including former Conservative Party leader Andrew Scheer, to apologize for publicly praising the illegal action of protesters.
This post received a score of 17,000, with an upvote ratio of 91%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Are they just taking the orders of a lich and no one questions it? Edit. The parallel to zombies has been drawn with the protesters. It's an hoser zombie apocalypse led by Lich.
Well, she's in charge of a horde of zombies, so it tracks.
So what then? They just squat in Ottawa until their 9 mil runs out.
Until all the locals move away and it becomes Squatawa.
Wait a second. I think this just might be the solution to fixing housing prices in the capital.
Well, yeah, they're not even deploying local law enforcement or enforcing laws on them. Why in the hell would they deploy military or negotiate? They just hope it slowly loses steam and goes away.
22F weather will do the job.
That killed Occupy Wall Street. Also the German invasion into Russia. The cold is a pretty serious thing. Hold up. I thought the soft ground and mud killed the German invasion into Russia, since the tanks would get stuck. There is even talk that Russia only has a very narrow window of several weeks to invade Ukraine, specifically because the ground will be frozen enough for the Russian tanks to make their way across the border. Regardless, Occupy Wall Street killed itself. There was no central leadership or message. The cold would have simply been the final nail in the coffin.
On October 7, 1941, snow fell and melted, starting the famous Russian Rasputitsa, where it is almost impossible to move on roads. The ground refroze on November 15 and the Germans attacked towards Moscow. But by that point the Soviets had brought divisions from the Russian Far East who were experienced in winter combat and had winter clothing unlike most of the Germans and held. By November 30 it had gotten so cold that if German generals are to be believed, it was the coldest in the 20th century, reaching -40 circa. 130,000 German soldiers had frostbite and vehicles stopped working. The Soviets were more experienced in the winter and had intact clothing and managed to counterattack in December.
We've tried nothing, and we're all out of ideas.
Stupid sexy Canada.
Remember how 32 years ago, the Mohawk Nation defended their sovereignty and tried fighting back against the town of Oka, Quebec because they didn't want a golf course destroying their land, and how the Conservative Prime Minister sent 4,500 armed soldiers, 1,000 military vehicles, 10 to 100 Special Forces units and 2,000 regular police to put an end to their blockade so a golf course could be made on their sovereign soil? Source to the Wikipedia article.
Remember when RCMP forcibly took away First Nation protesters and press workers at an oil pipeline build site a few months ago?
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.